Hi there, I'm Mark. These videos, they're my views, they're my opinions, and they're my beliefs based on my observations of people and their behaviours. So I'm going to ask you a question. The title of the video is Leadership, the Unicorn Theory. So the question I'm going to ask you is, which of the following are mythical? An introverted leader, an extroverted leader, or a unicorn? Those of you who said all three are correct. All three are mythical creatures. They do not exist in the sense of that they are not real. So we could argue, well, I know unicorns, I've seen one, I've seen pictures of them. Your daughter might even like dressing up as one, but that doesn't make it real. And in the same way, when somebody says, I'm an introverted leader or I'm an extroverted leader, apart from the fact that they shouldn't call themselves a leader, but extroverted and introverted doesn't exist. They are not types of people. What they are, however, are types of behaviours. So, and a very quick and very high level summary of Carl Jungian theory around psychological types. Now, I know the Jungian theorists and the Jungian purists out there and those experienced in the Jungian language, just take a step back, go have a cup of tea and a chill out, come back in half an hour. Okay, this is not a deep theory session. This is a conceptual session, just to help understand how using references as an introverted leader or extroverted leader is restricting. This came about because trawling through LinkedIn of late, and there's lots of posts, leadership gurus, leadership coaches, leadership development companies talking about introversion and extroversion as a leader. And one survey stated, and approximately 40% of leaders who described themselves as introverted leaders felt that their career paths had been held back because they were losing out to their more extroverted leader counterparts. When I read that, well, that's utterly ridiculous, because an introverted leader and an extroverted leader doesn't exist. So how can they be getting in each other's way? And actually, what it also made me think was, if you are referring to yourself as an introverted leader and using that as an excuse as to why you've not progressed against extroverted leaders, then that's your fault. You are the one to blame why you've not progressed. And the fact you're labelling yourself in that way is getting in the way. So let me give you a very simple explanation. Carl Jung created the phrases introversion and extroversion, and he did so to create what he referred to as our attitude. So I'm only going to focus on introversion and extroversion and how we make decisions to give examples. I'm aware of a sensation and intuition. Again, Jungian theorists just leave that by the back door for now. Okay, so in simplistic terms, if we're dealing with introversion, it's internal to us, be it in our heads or within here. Okay, so if you are asked a question, you may think through all the options and possibilities of a response within your head. You are thinking about the answers before you verbalize it. That is introverted thinking. If you're asked whether you like or dislike something, or whether it's agreeable to you or not, and you mull it over internally, do I like this? Do I not like this? Is it pleasant or unpleasant? Before you give your answer, you are again using your introverted preference, but this time what Jung referred to as our feeling preference for making decisions. So in simplistic terms, we have an introverted thinking and an introverted feeling approach. Now, if you ask someone a question and instantly you hear their thought processes, well, it could be this, it could be that, we could try this. Well, that is extroverting thought, extroverted thinking. It's out there for us all to hear. And if you ask somebody, do they like or dislike something, and you get that, oh, no, it's horrible, don't like that at all, they have instantly extroverted their feeling response. So as you're listening to this, you should be saying to yourself, I can do all 4 of those things. Because you can. Because when you and I were born, we were born with this capacity, these psychological types of behaviours. And this is the distinction. They are not types of people. So when you hear someone say, I'm an introvert, no, you're not. You have introversion within you, as does everybody else. You have extroversion within you, as does everybody else. So you can't be an introvert, because as soon as you say, no, I'm not, you're instantly extroverting. It's one of the things I find quite amusing when you occasionally see these video clips of someone going on stage, 1,000 audience, and they start with, I'm an introvert and I'm proud to say it. And the crowd cheer and there's clapping and yeah, me too. Are you not getting the irony of this moment? As your extroverted self, your extroverted personality type is coming out to announce you're an introvert and you're proud of it. So this is what I find so strange. You cannot label yourselves this way. So let's look at it in the sense of leadership. These tools that you have within you. An introverted leader, to use their preference, are saying they are held back because the extroverts speak more, say more, get heard more, are more visible, are more noticed, and therefore progress. So why don't you do that? Why don't you extrovert your thoughts and your feelings and opinions as they are doing in order to bring yourself to that place of being noticed and being heard? And it's because you're choosing not to. You're choosing to remain silent and say little unless it needs to be said, or holding back on your views. Well, that's your fault, because you are in fact simply curtailing psychological types of behaviour that you know are within you. Let me give you an example. Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern's been criticised, and she's openly said this, that she has been criticised for not being assertive enough, and this has been seen as a weakness, or being too empathetic. That again has been seen as a weakness. And she's used the line, I refuse to believe you cannot be both compassionate and strong. Now what Jacinda Ardern is saying there is, you people who are criticising me do not understand about behaviours, types of behaviours. And you do not know how to use your other behaviours, which is why she's receiving criticism. Because she is more than capable of flitting between her psychological types. So when she is being compassionate, empathetic, considering others, what she's bringing to the fore is her introverted feeling type. That introverted feeling version of Jacinda. She is allowing that to step into the ring and communicate as her. If she then wants to become challenging, what she has to do is almost tag team. So her introverted feeling preference has to step out of the ring, and she tags her extroverted thinking type. The extroverted thinking version of Jacinda now enters the ring. And we'll ask the questions, okay, what are we doing? Why are we doing it that way? There must be a better way. You need to get this done. What's our objectives? That is then Jacinda going, okay. And then tag team again. That has to move out, so the other has to move in front. So what Jacinda does very, very well, which is what makes her stand out amongst her peers, is she understands how to tag team her psychological types. She is neither an introverted leader or an extroverted leader. She is an individual who knows how to use her personality types, her behaviours at the right time in the right way. And she knows how to let one go back to let the other come forward, because they can't exist alongside at the same time. You can't have, this is the Jungian theory of opposite types. Introversion feeling and extroverted and thinking can't exist at the same time. One has to step out to let space for the other, and then vice versa. And I'm only dealing with 2 there. There's another 2 simplistic ones we could add to it, and then we can expand it to 8 and then 16. And before you know it, you've got an army of psychological types, versions of you that bring all the good aspects of your behaviours into play when you need them. You become like an orchestral conductor. When you need to hear the music or soften the music or that's what Jacinda does with her behaviours. And that's what makes her stand out amongst her peers. Because the introverted leader, self-titled, who is blaming the fact that extroversion gets all the good jobs, is in fact basically making an excuse for the fact they haven't learned how to bring their extroverted self out. So what I want to ask you is, in any role, but particularly within leadership, which is what we're talking about here, you have the capacity to bring forward all those versions of you to the party, to the meeting, to the room. You can only pull one forward at a time, and others have to step back to let that other one come through. But each and every one is within you. What you need to learn to do is access them and bring them forward to support you, to help you when you need them. So introverted leaders, stop blaming others for your own mistakes. If you need to have a voice, bring your extroversion forward. Tell people what you're thinking. Tell people how you're feeling. And extroverted leaders who often say, oh, well, I didn't get the job because my face didn't fit. But I'm not going to change. I am who I am. What you see is what you get. Or maybe extroverted leaders, you could learn sometimes to let your introverted self come forward. Learn sometimes to step back and be quiet and contemplative and thoughtful before speaking. The choice, of course, is yours. Or you could continue to blame others for the fact that the tools are within you, but you're just not choosing to use them. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Hopefully that didn't get a little bit too deep. And all the Jungian theorists and psychologists and behaviouralists, you may now step back into the room. Have a good day.